The black ship hovered above the village like a storm cloud made of metal. Its body was smooth and silent, but its presence filled the sky with fear. People stood frozen, staring up, their voices hushed. Children cried. Dogs ran and hid under. Carts. Mira held Rin's hand tightly. "What is that thing?" She whispered. Rin didn't answer. His eyes were locked on the ship. He knew that shape. He had seen it once before on a secure report from a secret council. It was a Telvar dreadship. And there was only one being who used a ship like that. Lord Avec. Rin turned to Mira. "Go inside. Lock the doors." "No," she said quickly. "Not without you." Rin looked around. "We need to leave now." But it was too late. A sharp beam of blue light came down from the ship and surrounded them both. The ground beneath their feet trembled. Villagers screamed and ran. Then, Flash, Rin, and Mira were gone. They woke inside a glowing room. The walls pulsed with light like living skin. There were no windows. Only silence. Mira sat up first. "Rin, are you okay?" He nodded, rubbing his eyes. "Yeah, I think we're inside the ship." A smooth door opened, and two guards entered. They were tall and gray-skinned, wearing armor with strange symbols. They didn't speak. They only motioned with their hands. "Where are you?" "Taking us?" Mira asked. No answer. Rin took her hand. "Stay close." They were led through a long hallway into a large chamber. At the center stood Lord Avec. He looked almost human, but his skin had a silver sheen. His eyes glowed faint green. He wore a long robe that shimmered like water. "Welcome," he said calmly. "Rin Veeler Mira Loon." Rin stepped forward. "Why are we here?" Avec smiled. "You tested her heart. Now I test yours." Mira narrowed her eyes. "You've been watching us." "From the beginning," Avec said. "I watched how she stayed with you when you said you were poor. I watched her share her food. I watched her refuse to leave. And?" Rin asked, voice tense. As Vek looked at Mira. "You passed every test. Your loyalty is rare. It is ... beautiful." Mira stepped closer to Rin. "We want to leave." "Oh, but you can't," Avec said gently. "Not yet." He raised a hand, and a screen lit up behind him. It showed Earth, surrounded by small red dots. "Enemy ships." "What is this?" Rin asked. "A warning," Avec replied. "I have the power to destroy your homeworld. All I ask is simple." Rin stared. "You want something." "I want Earth's galactic passcodes, the keys to your network. Give them to me, ... and I will spare your people." Rin's heart raced. The passcodes gave access to Earth's defenses and secret systems. If Avec had them, he could control trade, weapon systems, everything. Rin shook his head. "Never." Avec turned to Mira. "You see? His pride is greater than his love. He would risk your world." "Your life." Mira stepped forward. "And what? Do you know about love?" Avec's smile faded. "Enough to know that it can be broken." The next days were dark. Rin and Mira were kept in a small room with no windows. Each day, a different game was played. One day, Rin was offered gold and power if he gave up the codes. The next day, Mira was shown fake videos of Rin handing over secrets. Another day, they were separated. The guards told Mira that Rin had left the ship without her, but none of it worked. Mira never stopped believing. And Rin never gave in. On the 5th day, Avec came again. This time, only Mira was in the room. He stood across from her, his hands behind his back. "I will make you an offer." "I'm not interested," she said coldly. Avec ignored her. "You can leave. Right now, I will give you a ship. I will return you to Solon safely. You will be free." Mira looked at him carefully. "And Rin? He will stay. Then I stay." Avec raised an eyebrow. "You would throw away your freedom for him." Mira stood. Her voice was strong. "If you knew what love really was, you wouldn't ask that question." Avec said, Nothing for a moment. Then he nodded and left the room. Later that night, Rin and Mira were reunited. He hugged her tightly. "They didn't hurt you?" She shook her head. "Just tried to trick me." Rin looked into her eyes. "I'm sorry. This all started because of me." "No," she said softly. "It started because you wanted to know if I loved you." "And you do," Rin said, voice full of wonder. "Even now, always." Meanwhile, in the control room, Avec watched them on the screen. His officer said, "They remain unbroken." Avec's face was cold. Then we moved to the final test. Back in their room, the lights went dark. A loud siren began to scream. The ship shook. A voice rang out. "Emergency escape pod ready. One person only." Mira looked at Rin. "What is this?" Rin frowned. "Another test. It's fake." The wall opened, revealing a small pod, just big enough for one. Then a new message: "Only one can survive. Countdown begins, 60 seconds. Mira looked at Rin. "You go." "No, you go," he said quickly. They argued for a few seconds before Mira shouted, "We both stay." She pulled him back from the pod and hugged him tightly. "Let it explode." "I don't care." The siren stopped. The room went silent. A screen appeared. Avec looked at them both. "You would rather die than leave each other." Rin nodded. "Now you understand." Avec stared at them. For the first time, he had no words. Then he ended the call. Far above the stars, Lord Avec stood in silence. He turned to his crew. "Release them." The winds on Sullen had changed. The warm breeze that once passed gently through the village now carried whispers. Some said a stranger had come looking for someone. Others said a hidden ship had been seen above the clouds, though no one had proof. But Mira felt it. Something was different. Rin woke early that morning. He looked at Mira as she slept peacefully beside him. Her hair was messy, and her hands still had bits of soil from gardening the evening before. He smiled softly, but inside, he was troubled. He had been silent for too long. The secret he carried was heavier each day. He walked outside, sat on a rock under the large sun tree, and pulled the small silver cube from his coat pocket, the same device Mira had found under the floor. He turned it in his hand. With a soft hum, a glowing map appeared in the air. It showed planets, ships, and trade routes. This was no simple toy. It was part of his past, a tool from his hidden world. "I can't keep lying," he whispered to himself. Behind him, someone moved quietly. Mira had woken and followed him. She saw the glowing map and heard his words. "Then don't," she said. Rin turned quickly. "Mira. She stepped closer and sat beside him. "You don't have to tell me everything now. But someday, I'll need to know who you really are." He nodded slowly, guilt in his eyes. "Soon, I promise." That same afternoon, Lord Asvet's ship hovered silently above the clouds, cloaked from all sensors. Inside, Avec stood before a large screen, watching the village. He focused on Mira. "She remains loyal, even with doubts. Impressive." Avec's second officer asked, "Shall we proceed with the next step?" "Yes," Avec said, eyes narrowing. "But this time we speak to her directly." That evening, Mira went to fetch water from the nearby stream. It was a peaceful walk, and the stars above had just begun to shine. As she bent to fill the bucket, a soft light flashed behind her. She turned. A tall figure in silver robes stood a few feet away. He looked human, but his eyes glowed faintly. His voice was deep and smooth. "Do not be afraid," he said. "I have watched you." Mira stood still, alert but calm. "Who are you?" "I am someone who sees what others miss," he said. "I know your fiancé is not what he claims." Mira's hand tightened on the water bucket. "I know he's hiding something." "Yes," the figure said. "He hides everything. His wealth, his power, even the danger that follows him." "You live in a lie." Mira said nothing. The figure stepped closer. "Come with me. I can give you answers. I can show you who he truly is. All I ask is your trust." Mira looked up at the stars, then back at the stranger. "No," she said firmly. "If he's ready to tell me, he will. Until then, I'll wait." The figure tilted his head. "You'd rather stay in the dark?" "I'd rather stay with him," she said. "Whatever that means." The figure's smile faded. In a flash of light, he vanished. Mira stood still for a long time. Then she picked up the bucket and walked home. High above, Lord Avak sat in silence. "She rejected me," he said. The officer beside him looked surprised. Even when offered the truth, Avak clenched his fists. "Her loyalty runs deeper than I expected. But all loyalty can be broken with the right push." Back in the village, Rin sat with Myra at dinner. She seemed quiet, thoughtful. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded. "Just thinking." He hesitated, then took a deep breath. "I need to tell you something." She looked at him, curious but calm. "I'm not poor," he said. "I never was. I still have everything, my companies, my credits, my ships. I lied to test your heart." Mira stared at him for a long time. Her face didn't change. No anger. No shock. "I know," she said softly. Rin's eyes widened. "You knew?" "I saw enough to guess. And when that strange man came today and offered me the truth, I said no. Because I wanted to hear it from you." Rin's voice trembled. "I'm sorry, Mira. I was afraid. I didn't want to be loved for the wrong reason." Mira placed her hand on his. "And now that you've told me, I still choose you. But don't lie again. Not to me." He nodded. "Never again." They sat in silence, hands held tightly. Outside the window, a small black drone hovered in the shadows. In Lord Asvek's ship, the drone sent back the conversation. Avek watched with a cold smile. So now she knows. Yet still she stays. The officer asked, "What now?" Avek leaned forward. "Now we see what pain will do. The test is not over." 2 days later, as the village prepared for the harvest festival, strange things began to happen. The power grid flickered. The water supply slowed. Communication with nearby colonies went silent. Then one morning, the sky turned dark. Clouds spun in unnatural shapes. A loud sound like thunder shook the hills. People ran outside and pointed to the sky. A giant black ship was descending. Mira grabbed Rin's arm. "What is that?" Rin stared at the ship. His heart sank. They found The morning on Solon was cool and quiet. A soft mist floated over the hills. Birds with silver feathers sang from the trees. Rin Veeler stood outside the little wooden house, looking at the rising sun. He had lived here for 3 weeks now. No one knew who he truly was, not the neighbors, not the workers in the repair shop. Only Mira knew he had once walked among stars, speaking with alien rulers, building machines that connected worlds. And even she didn't know everything. Rin fixed small things now: old lights, rusted bikes, broken grain machines. He got grease on his hands and dirt on his clothes. At first, it was hard. He missed the speed, the power, the control. But slowly, something inside him started to change. He felt peaceful. Inside the house, Mira made breakfast. She hummed an old Earth song as she placed flatbread on a hot pan. She called out, "Rin, food is ready." He smiled and walked in, wiping his hands. He sat across from her at the little table. The air smelled of warm bread and herbs from her garden. "You're smiling more these days," she said with a grin. "I guess I am," he replied. "Maybe because I'm with you." Mira laughed softly. "Well, we don't have much, but we have each other. That's enough." Her words touched him. She never once complained. She didn't ask about the past. She didn't search for answers. She was just there, constant, true. That afternoon, Rin walked to the village tool shop. It was a small place full of rusty machines and old parts. The owner, a kind old man named Jareem, waved at him. "Morning, boy," Jareem said. "Got another grain hammer that needs fixing." Rin nodded. "I'll take care of it." As he worked, his hands moved without thought, but his mind wandered. Was it fair to keep hiding the truth from Mira? She believed he was poor, that he had lost everything. But the truth was still hidden deep in a secret vault far beyond this planet. She had passed his test. She had chosen love over wealth. But now he felt guilty for lying. High above, beyond the blue sky of Solon, Lord Avec watched from his hidden ship. "This female. She shows no signs of greed," he said to his second officer. The officer, a creature with green eyes and thin arms, nodded. "She offers food to the poor. She sings while working. She sleeps in a house made of wood." Vec's fingers tapped on the armrest of his black chair. "Strange, very strange." He leaned forward, eyes glowing. "Let's give her something tempting. Let us see what her heart truly holds." That evening, a stranger came to the village. He was tall, wearing a long coat, his face hidden under a dark hood. He claimed to be a traveler from the northern colonies, looking for rest. Mira welcomed him with her usual kindness. She gave him a cup of hot tea and offered him bread. The stranger sat near the fire, looking around the house. "You are kind," he said. "Not many would help a stranger." "We all need help sometimes," Mira replied. He smiled beneath his hood. "I've heard stories about a man who once ruled the skies, a young earth billionaire who vanished without a trace. Some say he hides on a poor world, living a false life." Rin stiffened, but Mira simply laughed. "Sounds like a story," she said. Double quotes, "Yes," the stranger said, staring at her. "But what if it were true? What if the one you love is lying to you?" Mira's eyes narrowed slightly. "Then I'd ask why he felt the need to lie, and I'd stand by him anyway." The stranger nodded slowly. "Interesting." He finished his tea and stood. "Thank you for the meal." As he walked away, Rin stepped outside to watch him go. His heart was uneasy. Later that night, as Mira prepared for bed, she found something strange under the floorboard near the bed, a small silver device, shaped like a cube with glowing lines. She picked it up, confused. It looked nothing like Solon's old tech. It felt alien. She showed it to Rin. His face went pale. "I thought I hid that," he said under his breath. "What is it?" she asked softly. Rin looked into her eyes. He wanted to lie. He wanted to say it was junk, but he couldn't. "It's from another world," he said. "One of mine, from before." Mira held the cube in her hand for a moment. Then she placed it on the table. "Okay," she said. "You're not ready to tell me everything, but when you are, I'll listen." Rin felt his chest tighten. He had tested her love, but now it was her turn to test his truth. Meanwhile, in the shadows beyond the stars, Lord Avec sat in silence. "She did not take the bait," he whispered. Even when doubt was offered, she did not break. His second officer asked, "Do we continue?" Vec's eyes glowed. "Oh yes. The deeper we go, the more we will learn. Let us turn their own hearts against each other." The next day, Rin walked through the village market with Mira. They sold old tools and herbs from her garden. People smiled and waved at them. They were a simple couple, known for their kindness. But Rin felt something in the air, a change. Like a storm waiting beyond the hills. He knew the truth would have to come out soon. He could no longer hide in peace while shadows watched from above. He glanced at Mira. As she laughed with a child, she was his light. But would she still shine when the darkness came? Rin Veeler stood on the balcony of his sky tower, looking out over the shining city of Luma Prime. The towers stretched into the clouds, and flying cars zipped through the air like tiny stars. But his eyes were not on the beauty of the city. His mind was far away, thinking about one person, Mira. Loon was his fiancée. She was kind, gentle, and full of life. She wasn't from this world. She came from a small Earth colony, far from the lights of this rich planet. She loved simple things, growing flowers, reading old books, and helping people in her town. That's what Rin liked about her. She didn't care about money, but deep inside Rin had doubts. Was her love real? Or was it because of his wealth, his fame, his grand homes? He had built his fortune before turning 30, creating tech that helped Earth talk to alien worlds. Everyone in the galaxy wanted his devices. But now that he had everything, he was scared of losing the one thing he couldn't buy: true love. That's why he made a plan. A dangerous one. The next morning, Rin met Mira in a small garden where they often walked. The air smelled of fresh leaves, and the artificial sun gave soft warmth. Mira smiled as she saw him. "You're late again," she teased. Rin forced a smile. His heart was heavy. "Mira." Something happened. She stopped smiling. "What's wrong?" "I lost everything," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "My companies, my money, all of it. There was a trade attack on the galactic network. My accounts are gone. The systems are under investigation. I'm broke." Myra looked at him. For a long time she said nothing. The silence was painful. Then she gently touched his hand. "So?" she asked. Rin blinked. "So, I thought you should know. I can't give you the life I promised." Mira shook her head. "I didn't say yes to you because of your credits. I said yes because I love you, Rin, not your account balance." His breath caught in his throat. "You mean that?" She smiled again, softer this time. "Come home with me. My planet is quiet, but we have space. We'll manage." Rin almost cried, but he held it in. The test had begun, and so far, Mira passed it without a doubt. 3 days later, they left Luma Prime. Rin sold the rest of his homes and turned off the public AI that ran his businesses. Official reports said he had vanished in debt. No one knew it was fake. They traveled to Mira's home world, Solon, a green, peaceful colony where old ways still mattered. The people were friendly. They worked with their hands. There were no flying towers or robot waiters. Rin wore a simple coat and lived in a small wooden house with Myra's parents. He helped fix old machines and worked in the village's tool shop. No one knew he used to talk to alien leaders or build tech worth billions. And Mira? She was happy. She grew herbs in the garden, baked soft bread, and laughed every day. She didn't miss the bright lights of Luma Prime. She didn't ask questions about the past. She was here, in the present with him. At night, they sat under the stars, side by side, saying nothing, just breathing together. But far away, someone was watching. Lord Avec, a noble alien from the planet Telvar, had noticed Rin's fall. He had always believed that humans were weak. Their emotions were strange. They loved too easily. They trusted too much. When Avec saw Rin give up everything, he became curious. "No human gives up riches without a secret," he said. He sent a silent ship to orbit Solon. Hidden above the clouds, it watched and listened. What Avec heard shocked him. Rin had faked his ruin to test love? How strange, he whispered to himself. How very ... human. One evening, as Mira cleaned old tools in the workshop, a beggar came to the door. He was old, his clothes torn, his voice shaking. "Please," he said. "I haven't eaten in 2 days." Mira looked around. They had little food left until the next market day. But she didn't hesitate. She handed the man a warm roll and gave him water. The man looked at her with wet eyes. "You are kind," he said. "Many here are not." After he left, Rin stepped from behind the corner. He had seen it all. "You gave away your last bread," he said quietly. "I'll eat later," she said, wiping her hands. Rin stared at her. In all his life, he had met rich traders, clever leaders, powerful warriors. But this moment, this small act, showed more strength than any of them. That night, he sat alone outside, thinking. Mira was asleep inside, resting after a long day. The stars above were bright. The same stars that watched when he ruled the skies, now watched him sit in dust and peace. He spoke quietly, as if the stars would answer. "She chose me," he said, "even now, even with nothing." But high above, in the hidden ship, Lord Avec leaned back in his chair. "So this is human love," he muttered. "Interesting, but let's see how strong it really is." And with that, he began to make his move. Years passed quietly among the stars. Mira lived with the Fireborn on their glowing ship. She became their guide, their memory, and their light. The Fireborn learned to feel kindness and peace, all because one old woman believed in them. Though her hair turned whiter and her steps slowed, her heart stayed warm and strong. Every morning, she watched the stars through wide windows, remembering Earth and the family she loved. One day, as she sat in her favorite chair, the glowing child creature approached her. It held a small crystal, shining softly. "Mira," it said in the language of feelings, "the Fireborn wished to send you a message from Earth." Mira smiled. "I would like that." The crystal began to glow brighter. Inside, images appeared, simple, beautiful moments from her past on Earth. She saw Lena, young and full of life, playing in a garden under the sun. Lena laughed and waved toward the sky. Then, Mira saw a small Earth home, peaceful and full of light. Tears filled Mira's eyes. "They remember." "Yes," the creature said. "Your kindness touched many worlds. Your love lives on." Back on Earth, Lena stood beside a garden filled with flowers. The air smelled fresh and warm. She held the memory crystal Mira had given her long ago. Whenever Lena felt lonely, she would hold it close and see her mother's smile. The crystal showed her the days when Myra held her hand, taught her to dream, and loved her without end. Lena often told stories about her mother, about the woman who saved a galaxy with kindness and courage. People listened. They smiled. They believed. In schools, children learned about Myra's journey, not as a great warrior or powerful leader, but as a woman who chose love over fear. Myra's story became a beacon of hope, showing that even one person's kindness could change the universe. Far from Earth, Mira walked slowly through the Fireborn ship. The beings she had helped now smiled gently when they saw her. They had grown calm and peaceful, their flames soft and warm. A new generation of Fireborn children played nearby, half flame, half light, full of life. They carried the memory of Myra's kindness in their hearts. Mira sat on a bench beside the glowing stars outside the ship. She closed her eyes and felt the warmth of many worlds. Though she was far from Earth, she was never alone, because love and hope were stronger than distance, stronger than time. One evening, as the ship drifted quietly through space, Lena's voice came through a small communicator. "Mira, I want you to know, I'm proud of you, more than words can say." Mira smiled. "And I'm proud of you. You gave me the strength to do this." Lena laughed softly. "You always had it inside you." Mira looked out at the stars. Maybe that's the true magic. The magic of kindness, the magic of love, the magic of one small light shining in the dark. The escape pod flew silently through the stars. Ren sat at the controls, checking the systems. Mira sat beside him, looking out the round window. Her eyes followed the stars, but her heart was still racing. "Are they following us?" she asked. Softly, Ren nodded. "Yes, their ship is faster, but we have a head start." He tapped a few buttons and showed her a blinking dot on the screen. "This is us," he explained. "This other dot? That's Lord Asvek's ship. It's gaining slowly." Mira frowned. "Can we make it to Earth?" "No," Ren admitted. "Not without help. but I sent a distress call on a private Earth channel. If they get the signal, someone may come. Mira placed her hand over his. Then we wait, together. Hours passed. The pod shook lightly as it entered a deep space belt full of old debris and ice chunks. Rin flew carefully, dodging pieces of floating metal and frozen stone. But as Vex Dreadship was getting closer, the warning light blinked red. Impact range in 30 minutes. The computer said. Mira sat forward. Rin, what if they catch us again? Rin looked at her. His eyes were calm. Then we fight. With what? She asked, half smiling. Rin pointed to a small panel. This pod may be old, but it has one secret. He opened the panel, revealing a crystal sphere. This is a fusion core. If we overload it, we can destroy the pod and anything close to it. Mira's smile faded. That would kill us. I know, Rin said quietly. Back on the dreadship, Laura Vec stood in his command room. They are slowing, the officer said. We will reach them soon. Avec folded his arms. And Earth? No response from their fleet. The officer replied. Avec walked to the viewing window. The stars stretched endlessly before him. He could see a small flash, the pod moving between debris. Prepare to send a message to the girl. He said. Inside the pod, a new light blinked. Incoming. Message, the pod's AI said. Rin and Mira exchanged glances. Play it, Rin said. A small hologram appeared. Lorda's Vex face filled the space with a calm, cold smile. Mira Loon, he said. This message is for you. Mira leaned in, cautious but curious. I know you are afraid. But you do not need to run, Avec continued. I offer you a choice. The hologram showed a small shuttle. A ship will be sent to your location. 1 seat. It will take you safely to Solon. You will not be harmed. You will live your life in peace. Then as Vec's face turned serious. But you must leave Rin Veeler behind. The message ended. Mira sat back in silence. Rin looked at her carefully. You know what he's doing, right? She nodded. He's testing me again. Rin said nothing. He waited. Myra looked out the window. If I go, I live. If I stay, we might die. Rin reached into his coat and pulled out a small pendant, her mother's locket. He had kept it safe during their escape. He handed it to her. No matter what happens, he said. You gave me more than anyone ever has. You gave me real love. Mira looked at the locket. Her hands shook. Then she stood up. Rin's eyes followed her. Mira? She walked to the pod door. He stood too. What are you doing? She turned to him, her voice strong. Opening the door when the shuttle arrives. Rin's face dropped. You're going with him? She smiled gently. No, I'm going to destroy the shuttle before it lands. 15 minutes later, the small shuttle from Azvek's ship arrived. It hovered just beside the pod, waiting for Mira to board. Rin and Mira stood at the door. Mira opened the outer hatch and walked onto the platform between the pod and the shuttle. She raised her hand. I'm ready. She shouted. The shuttle side opened. Then Mira pulled a small laser flare from her boot. She threw it into the shuttle and jumped back just as the flare exploded inside. The shuttle caught fire and spun away, crashing into floating ice. Rin rushed out and pulled her back into the pod. You could have died. He shouted. But I didn't, she said, smiling. In Azvek's ship, alarms rang. The shuttle has been destroyed. The officer shouted. As Vek closed his eyes. She refused again. The officer looked worried. Sir, shall we continue pursuit? Avec walked to the screen. He watched the small pod move through the ice belt. He spoke softly. No, let them go. Back inside the pod, the alarm lights blinked again. Rin stared at the screen. His ship is pulling back? Mira leaned over. He's not chasing us anymore? Rin smiled, relief washing over his face. I think he finally understands. They sat back, hearts racing, hands locked together. 1 hour later, a large Earth cruiser appeared in front of them. It was silver and blue, carrying the mark of the Terran Peace Alliance. The pod shook as it was pulled in by a tractor beam. "We're safe now," Rin said, eyes wet. Mira smiled. "We made it." Inside the cruiser, Rin and Mira were greeted by officials, doctors, and Earth commanders. They were given food, warm beds, and full safety. Rin handed the crystal chip to the commander. "This contains proof of everything. Lord Vex tests. His threat to Earth, his offer to break us." The commander looked at him with respect. "You did more than survive. You showed the galaxy something it forgot. Human strength isn't just in power. It's in loyalty, in love." Mira smiled quietly beside Rin. She didn't need medals. She had already won. The Terran Peace Alliance ship glided smoothly through the quiet space toward Earth. Inside, Rin and Mira sat side by side in the comfortable cabin. For the first time in weeks, they felt safe. The stars outside the window moved gently, like shining pearls on a dark cloth. Rin looked at Mira and smiled. "We're almost home." Mira smiled back. "I can't wait to see the fields again, to breathe the fresh air." Rin nodded. "I'm ready to rebuild, but this time I want to do it differently." As the ship entered Earth's orbit, the news had already spread. "Rin Veeler and Mira Loon have returned," the announcer's voice echoed across the broadcast channels. After weeks of silence, they escaped captivity from the Telvar Lord Vex ship. Their story is one of courage, love, and hope. People all over Earth watched with amazement and joy. They celebrated the couple who had not only survived, but had shown strength beyond the stars. At the spaceport, friends and family waited. Rin's parents, though wealthy and proud, looked humbled. Mira's simple mother stood quietly, tears in her eyes. Rin stepped down the ramp, holding Mira's hand. The crowd cheered. A small boy ran up to Mira. "Are you really the girl who stayed with Rin when he lost everything?" Mira knelt and smiled. "Yes, I am," the boy grinned. "You're my hero," Rin laughed. "Looks like you have a fan." Days later, Rin and Mira stood in a small hall filled with Earth's leaders and diplomats. Rin held a speech. "We faced fear, we faced pain, but we never gave up, because love gave us strength." The room erupted in applause. One leader spoke after. "Your story reminds us why we fight, not for power or gold, but for hope, for family, for future." Rin looked at Mira. "Together, we can build a better galaxy." Life slowly returned to normal. But Rin and Mira were changed forever. Rin decided to use his wealth not for himself, but to help others. He built schools, farms, and clean energy plants on Earth and beyond. Mira started a foundation for women and children on small planets where help was rare. Their love inspired many. One evening, as the sun set behind green hills, Rin and Mira walked through a field of wildflowers. The air smelled sweet. Birds sang softly. Rin stopped and looked at Mira. "I never wanted to test your love," he said quietly. "I only wanted to know if it was real." Mira smiled. "And now you know." He took her hand. "I want to spend my life proving it." Mira squeezed his hand. "Me too." They stood together, watching the stars begin to appear. Far away, in a dark room, Lord Vex watched the broadcast of their homecoming. His face was hard, but his eyes betrayed something new, a hint of respect. "Humans," he whispered. "Stronger than I believed." And so, the story of Rin and Mira became a legend, a tale told in quiet moments across many worlds about the power of love, the strength of the human heart, and the light that shines brightest when all else seems lost. Because sometimes the greatest test is not of wealth or power, but of faith in each other.